Welcome to another episode of Southern Arizona's Nonprofits, the superheroes impacting our community. We're broadcasting live today on the Tucson Business Channel, a division of Mark Bishop Media, from the Stewart Title corporate offices on Broadway in Tucson, Arizona. Our show is brought to you by SCIP, SSCIP, the Social Services Contractor Indemnity Pool. They've been insuring nonprofits like ours for more than 3 decades. I'm Barbara McClure, Executive Director of Impact of Southern Arizona, host of this show, and with me today are 2 gals representing 2 unique organizations serving Tucson, one bringing a fun game of tennis to inner city students, and the others helping spread kindness through all our communities. With summer just around the corner, they also both have activities for kids. So please join me in welcoming Stacy Renner, Program Coordinator from Tucson Community Tennis Program. The quick acronym is TCTP. Welcome, Stacy.
Thanks.
And also Helen Gomez, Executive Director of Ben's Bells.
Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. I think this is so fun to get the 2 of you together, and I'll share with the audience. I've recently met these 2 gals at an event in April it's called The Big Give, but it's done by the 100 plus women who care in Tucson. And at this event, members meet once a quarter and they give away tens of thousands of dollars. And you have to be very spontaneous. They pull your name, they pull 3 names out of a basket, and 3 people get to come up and give a 5-minute presentation without any props. And then they get asked questions for 5 minutes. They sit down, the second one gets up, and the third gets up. And so both Stacy and Helen were participants in April. So thank you both for doing that. That was a big deal. So I would start with Stacy because Stacy was fortunate to win the Big Give.
Yay.
It was pretty cool. And so Stacy, can you tell us about your organization and how long you've been around?
Sure, I would love to. TCTP, which is Tucson Community Tennis Program, has been around since 1993. And it was started by a group of guys, professional tennis coaches up in the foothills, and said, hey, let's take some equipment, go to the south side and hang around some courts and see if we can teach kids who would not normally get the chance to learn to play, a chance to learn to play. And they did that in 1993. So we've been around for 30 years. And since then, we have been reaching about 700 to 800 kids a year, introducing them to the game of tennis.
That is so fun. I was fortunate. I grew up with a mother who played tennis. So even as a young girl, we used to go, my brother and I, we'd sit on the side of the court while my mother and her friends played tennis. And we'd read books and hang out or sneak off to the playground and come back to the tennis courts. But we did learn how to play also. But a lot of times I spent just hitting the ball against the garage door.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's neat that you've got so many kids introduced. Are a lot of your kids' first time introduction to tennis?
Yes. So one of our programs of the 5 that we do is called our in-school program. What we do is we go to, currently we do 11 to 12 different schools. We go in to the 5th grade classes, take 4 nets, 30 some rackets, about 100 and some balls, and 5 coaches, and teach the kids the introduction to tennis. And a lot of the kids are like, where was this sport? I've never even heard of this. So we do that. We do that for 5 sessions and give them a chance. And because we have so many coaches, and 4 of those coaches are volunteers, actually, that's why we can do it, because we have 4 people coming in and volunteering for us. One is a certified coach, and they introduce the kids to tennis, and then they introduce them to forehands, backhands, the drop serve, and then we pay for a bus to take the kids over to the Refkin Tennis Center, where they're allowed to play on the big courts. We call it a graduation, and then we have a family night for them, and their families come in, and they get to show off their new skills, and we give each kid a new racket.
That's so fun.
So one of the things we also do on that family night is we've noticed that the parents have come up to me and said, hey, I would love to, but I don't have a tennis racket. So we've been soliciting our friends and family to give up their gently used old rackets, refurbishing them, and then giving them to the parents. So now the whole family can play, very much like you.
Well, that's a great thing for our listeners to know, because I can tell you my mother's tennis racket is in the garage and she's no longer playing. So I probably would have given it to the Goodwill or some nonprofit thrift shop like that. But to be able to turn it around to something that so
Right.
directly impacts the kids would be much more fun.
And they're very excited. So they get very excited.
Oh, I'm sure. So our listeners will have to keep that in mind. And on the webpage for this show, it has all the contact information for the two organizations. So
Great.
is that something they would drop off at your location, or do you
They
have a
would-
location?
We don't have a location, but they can call me or they can email me, and I will be happy to come pick it up, or they could drop it off at Tucson Racket Club, which we often let people, they're very supportive. Tucson Racket Club has been great for us, and they allow us to do things like that. People can drop off their rackets. So when I come in there, they'll go, Stacy, we have a couple rackets.
Perfect.
Yeah, so it's been working really well.
That is nice. Well, can you tell us about one of your other programs?
Well, why don't I tell you about the summer camp?
Sure.
Because we have now 2 summer camps, thanks to the 100+ women who care.
Nice.
I know, I'm so excited. I'm just, to give these kids this gift. And you said, we introduced them to the game of tennis, but now the kids can come to camp and take what they learned with us in school and take those new skills and, best them, keep improving on them. And so we offer 4 weeks. The first camp is 4 weeks long. It's Monday through Thursdays. It's from 8 to 9:30. Because of the heat, we keep it kind of short. And it starts May 30th and goes to June 22nd. That's the first camp. The second camp is a little bit shorter in nature, but right now the board has to make it official and vote on it, so I can't give the details.
Okay.
But you can contact me and I'll let you know. And so at the camp, the kids, we have 3 different levels. We go ages 7 through 17. Anybody can come. And we ask for a $10 donation, but oftentimes we don't get any money that way. And so some of the kids that we have as our CIT or coaches in training are some of our own kids that have grown up through the program. So it's great. One of our head coaches just recently left us, but she started as a little girl. And so she was 24 and she was our head coach.
Oh, that's fun.
And isn't that great? And then several of our coaches have been through the whole program with us.
Oh, gosh, that's so fun.
Yeah, so they give back, which is great. It's just wonderful to see them and their enthusiasm with it. So,
And I bet the kids relate to them because they started in the same way they did.
oh, you should see them. They started out, can't hit the tennis ball, and now we won. We won a JTT, one of our other programs. Those kids actually won a national tournament at their level
Oh, my gosh, that'll be fun.
last summer. So hopefully we're going to do a repeat. Yay.
Yay, we'll root for you
Okay.
in the bleachers, I guess.
Yeah. So it's exciting to watch the lights go on for them and be able to do that because, I used to coach volleyball. And the kids who were very talented in volleyball belonged to volleyball clubs. And they had coaching, and they had all of this extraneous gifts by their parents that our kids don't get. And so this is what, to me, why this program's so important. We give them that. So I'm going to start calling it club tennis.
That's a good idea.
So
Yeah, Tucson Club Tennis Program
there you go.
for the community. There you go. Well, thank you for sharing that. And then, Helen, we also want to hear a little bit about Ben's Bells. I think it's so funny, the Ben's Bell green flower logo that simply says "Be Kind" seems to be all over Tucson, on cars, on mosaics, on buildings. And yet I understand that many people don't really know what the organization does. And I thought everybody knew. But it's one of the reasons we do this show, is exactly because we market all the time, right? Mm-hmm. Both of us, all 3 of us. And then people come up and say, I've never heard of you. So maybe you can share for the listeners what the mission of Ben's Bells is and kind of how it got started and what it's about.
Okay. So we our mission is to educate people about the science of kindness and also the positive impacts it has when you practice kindness. And so what we hope is that it inspires people to practice kindness. And I've said this before when I've talked about it. I think people take kindness for granted until they need it.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I think back to when my father passed away several years ago. I really appreciated all of the handwritten notes that were mailed to me, snail mail. I thought, wow, they took the time to do that and write something heartfelt. And so I tell people it's a really important thing that we take for granted quite frequently. So we started, this year will be 21 years. We're just starting our 21st year. And it started, Jeanette Marais, who's our founder. Her son, Ben, he wasn't sick. He had croup, and he died just short of his 3rd birthday. And so as a mom, trying to just get by every single day, she turned to 2 things. Number 1, she turned to kindness, which to hear her talk about it is so beautiful. She talks about, she was a professor at the time at the U of A. And when somebody would open a door for her, she said, I'd want to hug them and tell them how much it meant to me, and I wanted to burst into tears. She said, but then they would have thought I was crazy. But that just proves you don't know what somebody's going through on any given day. So whether they give you a positive reaction or a negative reaction, we don't know, they've gone into a fight with their sibling, their spouse, whatever, we don't know. So she turned to kindness, and she said that that's what got her through every day, that the community really pulled her through this tragedy and really held her together, her and her family. They just showed her so much love. And then the other thing they turned to was a little art therapy. So she had a kiln in her garage, and her friends and her family all came together and started working with clay. And what they ended up doing was making these ceramic flowers, the iconic green flower, but they're wind chimes, essentially. And on the 1st anniversary of Ben's passing, they put out 400 bells into the community.
Ooh, that gives me chill bumps. That is a lot of bells.
That's a lot of bells, yeah. And we still do it now, and it says, it has a tag that says, you found a Ben's bell, take it home, and remember to spread kindness. And so that really caught on. And Tucson, Tucson embraced Ben's bells, you would not believe. And so now here we are 21 years later, and we're just... we still put the bells out every month, and actually in April, because that's the anniversary of Ben's passing, we still put out 500 bells. So we just put out a ton of bells into the community.
So they're hanging in trees, and they're all. I have found one in a tree in the past. Yes,
I'm looking now.
but it's like an egg hunt, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is, and we try to really get them everywhere. So we have Sarita, we have Vail, we have Green Valley. Tucson proper is real easy. We have a lot of people who want to go there, but even Oro Valley, and we try to get it everywhere. So
How about the east side?
we do. Actually, my mom...
That must be where Stacy lives.
Well, I was going to say, my mom lives on the east side, so when we would go over there, we've put them, I know my boys and I have put them on the trail, Old Spanish Trail. We'll just pull over and we'll put them on a random, bush. Yeah, so it's fun. We call ourselves the kindness ninjas, so.
That's very fun. So if we're in the public and we're looking for them, I did see one in a tree, but what other kinds of places are they hanging? Are they on buildings or?
I've heard that they've been in Home Depot parking lots.
Oh,
We also have people who take them when they go on trips, they take them with them.
Sweet.
So what was cool is one time we had a board member who took it to the Titanic Memorial in Ireland. Within 24 hours, we had somebody submit a story that they had found that bell.
oh, that's fun.
It was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Yeah, so that's cool. They're everywhere.
That is a neat thing.
I would be so excited to find one. Wouldn't you? I mean, talk about
yeah.
giving joy.
Oh, yeah. I've never actually found one. And we take it very seriously at Ben's Bells. None of the staff take any of the bells. We are okay, if we get one, it's because we have to find one. So, yeah.
Sure. I think even if I was the staff member and I found one, I wouldn't want to take it, but I would be so excited about
Right,
having figured
exactly.
it out.
Right.
That is neat. And then I was interested to hear you've been around for so long. It's hard to believe that much time has passed, to be honest. But I've lived in Tucson 15 years, so it was already going when I first found it, and I didn't really know what it was when I first found it. So, it's kind of cool. But it didn't take long to find people who knew what it is.
Right.
And so I think it's growing. And I think that's what's interesting. If people find them, but they don't know what they are.
Right.
And so is there a tag on it today that says take it, or is it just the wind chime?
It does say to take it home and practice kindness, and then it has our website so that often what happens is, especially if they're put in other states or other countries, we want people to be able to find us. So we have them go to bensbells.org, and we actually have this is kind of cool, I've wanted this for so long, interactive map where you can actually put in where you found your bell, so that eventually we'll have this whole map that's populated so we know where bells are or have been found. So we're very excited about that.
I think that's such a cool idea.
I'm going to Egypt. Mm-hmm. How do I get some bells to take with me? I think that would be so cool.
We could help you out. Yes.
Okay.
We right now usually the bells are put out by staff and board members and donors, but people who know us already, right? Mm-hmm. So because we give you the rules, you can't keep them, you can't put them on a residence. They need to be in the public so that somebody finds them, because we say this all the time, the bell finds you. And so frequently that happens where we get these stories and people are like, I was having this awful day and then I came upon this bell, and it's like the bell finds you. So
That is fun. Well, so maybe we'll see one on the interactive map in Egypt.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. Well, I was thinking how I remember when there was, unfortunately there seemed to have been so many, but there was this horrible, tragic school shooting, and I can't even remember which one it was, but it was quite a while ago, probably when I first met Jeanette. And the community invited her out. They wanted her to come out and help the community heal. And I just remembered it was such a challenge to do something like that. But now I noticed on even their website, you have a whole group, art studios in Phoenix, where I suppose people are getting active, and then even Connecticut. So what's the story about the Connecticut location?
Well, the Connecticut location, a woman out there had heard Jeanette speak. And so she said, oh my gosh, I want this out in Connecticut. This is amazing. So she had reached out to her. Well, sadly, what had happened then is, I think the one you're talking about is Sandy Hook.
Yes.
And that happened. And so our board members at the time made a bunch of bells, and they put probably about 400 or 500 out into the community. And the community loved it so much that they said, okay, we need to start this here. So the woman who had originally reached out to us, much like Jeanette, had a kiln in her basement and was working with clay. And so she really spearheaded this. And now they are approaching their 10-year. They're in Bethel, which is right, near Sandy Hook. And so the first few years we had only volunteers. It was run totally by volunteers. And now we have staff there who, a regional studio manager who, handles everything out there. And then he's got some staff. But yeah, they're thriving now. 10 years it's been.
Well, what a great thing to think that kindness is expanding so rapidly that you have to hire people to help coordinate it. That would be, I would say that would definitely be success.
Yeah.
Definition.
I love it.
I was going to ask you too, I know one of the gals in our organization buys the kindness coins that you can get in packages, and then she passes them out. She just keeps them in her purse or in her car, and she passes those to people. So maybe you can tell us what those kindness coins are about for the listeners.
You can always come in and volunteer at Ben's Bells, and when you do, you're going to work on different projects. And one of those projects are the kindness coins. And so the kindness coins, they're little ceramic versions of our flower. And it has a little tag on there that's kind of similar that, says to remember to pass on, spread kindness. And what people use them for is so many different reasons. Much like the woman who I know who works for you, people keep them in their purses for various reasons. I keep mine in my purse. I just used one not too long ago. But I was at Starbucks and I had, ordered my drink, and the barista came back, when I got to the end, and she was going to give it to me, and then she stopped and she said, no, let me remake it. You didn't want, it was something silly, like you didn't want foam on there. And I forgot. I said, don't worry about it. It's just foam. It's really not the end of the world. I just like more milk is really the, but I said, it's not a big deal. She said, no, I can make it again. I want your drink to be perfect, just the way you wanted it. And she would not let me leave. She just took it back. So I handed her a coin, because how lovely was that she took that time. She didn't have to. I would have taken it. But she wanted it to be the way I wanted it. And I just thought that was so sweet that she took that time, because, I don't think I've ever been to a Starbucks that hasn't had a line, And so she took the time to do that for me, which I just thought was really special. And so I think teachers use these coins to recognize students in the classroom who do something kind. Businesses use them to recognize, employees. And so that's what people really use them for, is to just tell people that, hey, I see you, I saw what you did, and that's wonderful. It's a got you in a great way, catching people in kindness.
That is a fun thing to do. And you see it so many places. So to be able to pull something out and kind of reward someone for kindness would be a neat thing.
What's so nice is when you do something like that, like when I did that in the classroom and you do something, the people around are like, oh, I can be kind. You know what I mean? I do think it has a ripple effect.
Catches on.
Oh,
I really do feel that way.
It does.
I bet you have some tennis players that could get kindness coins.
Oh, absolutely. We have some wonderful kids with us.
Oh, yeah. And it's funny because, the kids, like you were saying, the kids appreciate those things so much. Just a little,
Yep.
Brightly decorated coin means so much to them, which, is special.
They'll probably have it forever,
Yeah.
In a trinket box.
Yeah.
I would.
Keep it in your pocket.
That's it.
Yeah.
And exactly. So, Stacy, what are some other programs? You mentioned that you had 5, and you talked about 3.
Yes. We have 5. We have a Saturday clinic, which is another program that we do. We do that all throughout the school year, and thanks to 100 plus women, we get to do it almost every Saturday this year. And again, it's any levels, ages 7 to 17. Again, the 7 isn't a hard and fast rule. Siblings sometimes have smaller kids, and it's easy for the parents just to bring them both. And if it's not too much, interference with the lesson, we tend to take younger kids. But 7 through 17, all levels. We have 3 different levels of play. We have beginners, intermediate, and the advanced players. And you move up and down depending on how you're doing and what you need as a tennis game. And so in that program, though, one of the things we do work with is, tennis is a game of integrity. You don't have line judges. You don't have people telling you the rules. And I love when you watch the kids, and we always are like, yeah, that's the way to be, when they help each other with the rules and say, oh no, that my shot was out, you need to call that out. And it's really a learning, we keep it in as a really, I think, a positive learning environment on that Saturday program. And so that's what we do throughout the school year. And as we introduce it to the in-schools, we invite them to come play with us on Saturdays, so that, again, they can take their levels up as they progress as a player. And, how nice is that the kids aren't on their screens on Saturday mornings? That they're out there, and it becomes a family affair. We have 3 kids, 3 sisters. We have, 3 siblings, and one of our kids is going to Germany as an exchange student. And, we wrote letters of recommendation, and she's very excited. They're recent immigrants. And so it's just really neat to watch that program progress. And we see somewhere about 40 to 50 kids a Saturday. Oh, wow. And that's how hungry people are to give their kids an opportunity to do something other than just sit down in front of a TV or screen. And so that's one of the other programs we have. And then we have another program where we sponsor a junior team tennis. And what that is the United States Tennis Association has leagues, and I say that with air quotes. They have leagues, and then if you have money, I want to go back to that for a second. If you have money, you take your kid to a club, and then they are able to play at a very competitive level because they have private lessons and they can do clinics all year round. Well, our kids do not have that don't have that financial capability. So what we do is we sponsor a team and we allow them to play at a level that's equal to theirs, and they still get some competition in it. And so we're going to have 2 teams this year, an 18 and under team and a 14 and under team. And they're different levels. It's an intermediate level. And so, we got them T-shirts and shorts are going to look good this year. And we have backpacks and, tennis bags with our logo on it. So, we're not looking like somebody's, poor cousin. And so the kids, it's just a pride with the kids when they go out there. They don't win a lot or all the time, although they have been recently. I should restate that. They've been winning lately. But just the pride and being able to belong to this group and know that, they're going to go out there and have fun. We buy them pizza, and it's on Friday nights at Tucson Racket Club. And so it's really fun for the kids. They really enjoy it.
Boy, and besides that, you get the kids out in a nice, safe place on a Friday night, not just away from their screens. Well, we're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, and then we'll come back and find out about the 5th program.
Today's program is brought to you by SKIP, the Social Service Contractors Indemnity Pool. SKIP is a member-owned, member-directed insurance provider with more than 3 decades of insuring Arizona social service organizations for their property, general and professional liability, and auto claim exposures. With an Arizona-based staff of claim underwriting and risk management professionals, SKIP specializes in providing personalized service, affordable premiums, and coverage which meets and often exceeds the state of Arizona's contract requirements for social service providers. For more information, visit our website at www.sscip.org or ask your insurance agent about protecting your organization with insurance coverage through SKIP.
Welcome back. We're talking today with Stacy Renner with the Tucson Community Tennis Project and also Helen Gomez with Ben's Bells. And before the break, we were talking about some of these great programs where inner city kids and kids of lower income can actually get out and play the game of tennis.
Right.
And I loved what you said about the fact that they're going to be doing something on a Friday night, but also the point about the uniforms I thought was really important, because uniforms really can elevate the whole thing. When a child's got a uniform on for their sport, it's completely different. So who's paying for those?
Well, I wrote a grant to the H.S. Lopez Foundation.
Oh, wonderful.
And they're sponsoring us for the junior team tennis. So,
That's
which is
great.
great. And I love it because, it does. There's something about this sense of belonging. When you're walking around on these courts and you see other like people in the same clothing as you, you're on a team. This is your people. So it's really fun. So I really enjoy that, and I'm so grateful they've been able to support us in that endeavor.
That is it. They're a great community organization that sponsors so many great things here in Tucson. I think we'll have to do a program one night just on the funders who are helping the nonprofits.
Yes.
We thought of that during COVID, and then COVID went so fast. But so what's the 5th program? Do you remember, Stacy?
Oh, yeah.
Where you are?
Oh, I do remember where I am. The 5th program is our scholarship program. And what we do is if we have some kids that go because their parents want them to go and they kind of like it, they have fun. But then we have this other group of kids that are like, hey, I really want to pursue this sport and I want to do really well. And then, and they show up to our camp or our Saturday clinics, and they're very, what's the word I'm looking for? Always coming. And they always put in 100%. And so what we do is we like to give them a scholarship to the local clubs tennis facilities. One is Revkin Tennis Center, and we sponsor them. We give them the money to attend any clinics usually in the summer, like their summer camps, or during the school year after school, so that they can be playing throughout the week. And Tucson Racket Club is another place we give scholarships to, so the kids can go and, again, learn a little bit more. It's always, with different coaches in tennis, it's always wonderful because different coaches see different things. I might see what you're doing with your footwork, and somebody might see what you're doing with your stroke. And so some coach might work on their strategy. So it's always good to give them a wide range of experience. In these facilities, the Revkin Tennis Center and the Tucson Racket Center, they had just been so supportive of us and helped us, giving us reduced rates so we can get more kids out there. So it's been really a good collaboration with them.
I would think too that, like, why tennis, right? So tennis seems like an individual sport. So what are the advantages of playing tennis versus something else?
Well, it's a good question. It's aside from the physical education, the physical learning, how to work with your body, but also, the fitness aspect. And hey, tennis is a lifetime sport. I'm still and 8 years old, and I am still playing tennis, and I'm actually going up a level. I just went up a level.
Oh,
so you can continue to improve throughout your life. So it's not like something, I played in high school. This is something you can play in high school, you can play in college, you can take some years off, have children, which a lot of my friends did, come back to it, and are playing competitive, fun tennis. And so that's the one thing. It's a lifetime fitness sport. And it isn't really individual sport. It is a group sport. When I moved here in 99, a lot of my friends I met on a tennis team. And it's a community here that's unbelievable in Tucson. I came from Michigan, and we had to play indoors. But here, you play outside, you play year-round. I walk in Tucson Racket Club, and I bet I know over 50% of the people there. And I've got my physicians there. I've gotten my, recommendations for people, restaurants, and so forth. But it's a real community sport. And because everybody knows everybody.
That's an interesting point because, of course, I'm thinking when I moved here, I thought, we're moving to the retirement community, but this was our end goal, our plan. And we are surrounded by some communities that have a lot of golf. And of course, golf seems to be the very popular sport in Arizona. So I was thinking, well, I wonder how popular tennis is. But to your point, we're up in the northwest part of Tucson, so we don't have a lot of tennis clubs and tennis groups up there.
But you do.
But I was thinking exactly.
But you do. You have Elcon. You have, I can't think of the name. It's like Elcon, but it's on Oracle. And then you have the Elcon on La Cañada. And you have Saddlebrook, has a huge tennis community. These people, you drive around, I'm telling you, it is unbelievable. So it's, the people are so wonderful in tennis. I just feel like, and I might be a little prejudiced, but I find that the people are really genuinely nice. Like one of my friends I played tennis with this morning, her husband he's a biker, and he was riding his bike, fell, broke his elbow. Well, pretty soon everybody's getting a meal train going for them, helping them out. Hey, if you want to play tennis, I'll take your husband to the doctor. And so it's just really a networking community of helping you live your life, in a really positive manner. I want to tell you one more thing about tennis. Why tennis?
Sure.
I'm sorry, I just get so excited. I coached at Tucson High for several years, which was actually Jeanette's daughters were there, and which is kind of a neat connection. And I was in the office, and there was a recruiter there, and he said, hey, I need tennis players to go to some colleges. I said, well, I have tennis players, and they're pretty good, but, are they college level? He goes, no, you don't understand. I said, what's that? And he goes, can they hit the ball over the net? And I said, well, yeah. And he said, well, do they get decent grades? And I said, they're tennis players. Again, I might be a little prejudiced. But yeah, they all do very well in school. And he goes, here. And he gave me a list of 10 Division III schools. He says, I'll give them a full ride at any one of these 10 schools. I'm like, come on. He goes, you have no idea how hard it is to fill tennis teams in college. I mean, if you go to the U of A games, many of those players are from out of the country.
Wow.
Oh, and I thought it seems like colleges just recruit from out of the country for some sports anymore, but it's really just because there's no local demand,
Right. And there's no local demand. Well,
or resource.
right. Resources. So like, and people say, well, the kids don't want to play. But when I went to tennis, when I went to Tucson High, I coached at Tucson High, I had like 27 girls come out. Girls, they want to play, but I was it as far as their coach. So I tried to do the best I could with that many kids and introduce them. Because obviously some of them in the time I have. But yeah, I mean, the opportunities are there for the kids in tennis.
Well, that is good to know. And, the reason I was thinking about, well, maybe it's more popular than I think. And maybe it's because it's played on on the now I'm thinking course, but what do you call it?
Court.
On the court. That it's, and they're kind of tucked away usually. But I was thinking that we at Impact do have a tennis club who donates their tennis shoes to us, because it's the one thing in our clothing bank that is the most difficult to get, because kids wear out their tennis shoes. And I was over at the Oro Valley Center, the recreation center there off La Cañada. And when you walk into the building, you have to walk by the tennis courts, and there's this screech, 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 screech noise of the tennis shoes on the, kind of stopping on the court. And I thought, I bet they replaced their tennis shoes long before they're worn out by our clients' standards.
Absolutely. And one of the things, so we quit taking used clothing for the kids, but one of the things we do take is very gently used shoes for the kids, because we have kids who come out in Crocs. In sandals. And it's like, no, don't. So we try to hook them up. We wash the shoes. And I have one of our parents who does the whole sterilizing thing with them, and they look brand new. The soles are brand new.
Right.
So we ask people to give what they can, if they're gently used, and we'll take them through the process. And if they work for our kids, great. So that and rackets, those are the two things we take.
Okay, good for the public to know. Thank you. So many fun things going on. And then Helen, back to Ben's Bells. I was thinking our Rotary Club came down. I'm a member of the Oro Valley Rotary, and they came down and made some of those things like you were talking about. If you volunteer, you can come down and make items for the store or for programs. So is that something? How does an organization or a group of people? Maybe it's the ladies in my neighborhood or the couples, like you were saying, who are looking for something to do on a midday afternoon. How do they get involved in something like that?
It's very easy. You actually can just sign up online at bensbells.org. Okay. And there's a calendar, you can see what's available, and you can just sign up right there at either our main gate studio or our downtown studio. Yeah.
Is it something that a large group of people can do, or what's that practical number?
You can. So we do get, the families or the friends who just come in, 1 to 5 people. But then we also do a lot of team building. So we get Geico, we get Caterpillar, we get ADP, all of these big groups who come in and do team building. And so we handle a lot of those too. Yeah.
That would be fun. Maybe a tennis team.
Hey, that would be great. Actually, my school, I taught at Mansfeld Middle School for 17 years. And one of the things we did as a, team building thing was do some bells, make some beads for the bells. So it was really fun. We were really getting into it.
It's a lot of fun. And I think people don't realize, if you've never done it before, it's really therapeutic. We get field trips all the time. Tons of kids come in all the time. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It sounds like it would be. And your point about art therapy, that's kind of a neat thing.
It is. One of the things that people don't realize is when we're sitting there talking to kids, when we're painting with them, you would think, oh, they're just going to come in and paint. Isn't that sweet, but the conversations that we're able to have with them when they're sort of relaxed and painting, it's amazing. It's just amazing, all the conversations that we're able to have. And a lot of them centered around kindness. Often, why kindness is difficult sometimes. You know, we can talk to them about, like, kindness isn't always sweet. You know, sometimes it's having the tough conversation with a family member or a friend about whatever it could be. And so the art allows us to be able to make those connections.
Oh, that's an interesting thought, too, just for people in their heads to think about. Is it kind to help your friend through, maybe to get out of something they shouldn't be doing, you know, especially for kids, but also for adults, right? I wouldn't have thought of that as a kindness, but it certainly is.
Well, you know, I go to my son's school every year, and I work with usually like fourth graders, and I tell them, okay, my challenge to you is to go out and do something kind today. And everybody's like, okay, like we can do that. That's easy. And then I say, it has to be somebody who it's difficult for you to be kind to. And then they all kind of, their eyes get really big, and, you know, because it's like at that age, that's a big deal.
Sure.
And I said, those are usually the people who need the kindness the most, are the people that are a little prickly. So, you know, try that today. And so, you know, I get it's really funny. I get all the hands raised. And what about my brother who drives me nuts?
That would especially be a good
Yes.
idea.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one.
That's one. I know. So, yeah.
That's very fun. Can you share some of the science behind kindness? I know Ben's Bells is about that as well. And I think Jeanette used to teach. You mentioned that she worked at the university, but what was her subject?
Communications. But, you know, I took over for her at Ben's Bells because she wanted to take a break. And I say this because her idea of a break was getting her PhD
Right.
at the U of A. And all of her research has to do with the science of kindness. So everything she's doing now at the U of A will all inform all of our educational programs and activities and whatnot. And she just talks a lot about, often what we talk about is, you know, being kind, like how it affects your brain, and, you know, how it is difficult. It is a practice. People think, you know, oh, I can say I'm kind, but it's a practice because, as we all know in this room, like, it's not easy to be kind every day. And it's not that somebody's difficult. It could be you're tired one day, and, you know, and it's hard. It could be that you, like I said, you just got into a fight. Somebody cut you off in traffic. So it's not easy. So it's a practice. And I think the science behind it is, you know, we're teaching people all of the positive effects and impacts that kindness has. So it could be something like visual reminders. So you mentioned our Be Kind mosaic murals. And so those serve as visual reminders. And so we know, thanks to science, that these visual reminders will keep kindness at the forefront. Even if it's like on the outer level of your consciousness, it's there, the Be Kind flower. And so we do kind notes, which are just little sheets of paper with a flower that, you know, you write to somebody acknowledging something kind that they've done. And so Jeanette does this. She's done this in the past. When I first started, she did this exercise where she has all these beach balls and she throws them in the air, and she says, okay, here's the thing. You need to keep kindness at the forefront. So let's keep kindness at the forefront. So she has like 6 people. She throws the beach ball up in the air, and she said, keep that in the air. And she goes, okay, what are other important things we should remember? Somebody said integrity. Okay, and so she wrote on the beach ball, okay, now keep integrity. Before you know it, it was kindness, it was integrity, it was honesty, it was all of these things. So her point being, we are so inundated with so many things on a daily basis. If we don't keep kindness at the forefront, it's going to go to the bottom. And so back to those visual reminders, I always say, I have a Be Kind magnet on my car. And that may not seem like a big deal, but it truly impacts the way that I drive. Because I think to myself, I can't be the person with the Be Kind magnet who cuts somebody off or yells at someone or does, you know what I mean? Even if somebody does something that really makes you angry, it reminds me that I've got that magnet on the back of my car, and so I have to drive accordingly. And now I will tell you, I have friends who said, I can't commit yet. I'm not that kind of a driver, which is fine. That's, you're owning that. But those visual reminders, they're huge.
That is funny because at Impact we have a decal that says "I give hope," and it's the same thing. When that's on your car, then it's the same pressure to be perfect on the road.
I know
Perfectly
the
pleasant.
science of being kind and stuff, but I do think it works. I think it's healing. When I underwent treatment for cancer, and I had this friend who religiously wrote me cards every week. And so by the time, it was a year-long process, my treatment, right? So I put them all on I called it a prayer wheel. And I'll tell you, I felt lifted just by that simple kindness, those cards that came to me. And it was pretty remarkable. So that whole science of, I do believe there's some healing properties in being kind.
Yeah, and that's exactly, I love hearing that story because that's exactly the point. We don't know what kind of an impact it has on other people, right? And in schools, we've actually found that schools that have, we call them high dose kind campus, because we have a whole programming, kind campus programming. Schools that have high dose and use it, the activities and all of the materials frequently, we see that absenteeism is down, that bullying is down, that conflicts and interactions like that are down. So it does make a difference. It does make a difference. Your environment matters.
It changes the culture, doesn't it? I think also, and I feel this way, when I am kind, it makes me feel good. So it's like volunteering. You're giving, and I think all of our volunteers in any of our organizations all feel like that. They volunteer because they want to give to others, but most of them say it's because it makes them feel good.
It does. It does, really.
And I think that kindness is working both directions.
Right. I mean, and it's similar to your program where you were talking about, just the community and the clothing. I mean, everything, the memberships, like to kids, especially in that, I want to say like that junior high-ish age.
Oh,
they're
good grief.
so self-conscious, right? So all of these little acts of kindness, it means so much to them.
And they can pass it on.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're a part of, then they can include other people. And that's what you see, it kind of builds on it. So, yeah, I agree.
So I'm sure you can get the Be Kind flower magnet at the store online.
You can.
But what about the mosaic? What if I'm a business owner and I have a big building and I would like to have the big green, sparkly, Be Kind message on my building? What's that involve?
Well, it would just involve reaching out to us, which, again, you could go on penspels.org, and we have information, who to contact, and we would get back to you. And they do cost, I want to say $5,000 for a mural, but what it involves, too, is you can bring your staff to create the tiles that will actually go into the mural. And
cool. Your
staff can also help us install it if they want. If they don't want to get their hands dirty and they just want us to do it, we will do that as well. But it really is a team builder. And a lot of places really enjoy that. And it's a good signal on your building, just to let people know one of your values. So
Sure. I was thinking there are probably a lot of listeners, and especially people who have businesses and they own their buildings, where they might like to do something like that.
And we've done like custom ones. I don't know if anybody's been down to the TCC, the Tucson Convention Center, but we just did a big, like 20 by, it's big. It's a big
20
I
feet
can't
tall,
remember.
20 feet wide.
Yeah, and it's an I Am Tucson mural, and we had so many businesses and so many groups and so many volunteers contribute to that, and it's gorgeous. So yeah, it's a collaborative effort. So it's just like what we say, it's a conveyor belt of kindness. You just keep paying it forward.
I love seeing those around the city. Every time I see them, they make me smile.
Those big mosaics.
Yeah, the mosaics, those
Yes.
Be Kind, because they're all glittery and all, they're fun. And
Yeah.
So
Well, and you say glittery. We put mirror into
Right.
them, and what we tell the kids is the mirror is so that you can see yourself in the mural and you can see yourself in kindness. So it's a reflection of you. So it's really very sweet, all of it. Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
That is neat.
That's fun. I hope some business people are thinking about that, or people who are listening who maybe know of a neat place to put up a mural. So maybe, or not a mural, but a mosaic. So that'll be fun. I was thinking, summer's coming, and so I'm sure there are lots of activities people can come down and make coins and what have you. But do you have other projects that are open to families and kids in the summer?
We actually run summer camp all through June. Every week in June, we have a summer camp. This is the first year since prior to COVID that we've been able to offer summer camps all week for every week in June. And it's for K through 4th grade. And they come in and we obviously talk to them about kindness, do activities, and then they actually get an interactive every single day. They get to work on something in the studio so that they can see their product from start to finish. So they'll cut the clay, they'll see how it gets fired, they'll glaze it, see what, all of that, the whole process. So they get to work on that, and then it all centers back around kindness. And we'll have special guests, because we do a lot of things about self-kindness, kindness to the environment, kindness to animals. So like Camp Cooper comes out, and last year they brought their big tortoise out there. So that was, the kids loved that. And so we have a lot of really fun interactive activities.
That's great. And then both these camps will be on your websites, so
Yes.
people can access them, the information through the websites directly or through the show page. So that's going to be fun for families, it sounds like. Stacy, what about when you were talking about, I think back to 100 plus women, and I know one of the things you can tell listeners that Stacy is pretty animated, and so when she was up on stage with her 5 minutes,
good.
under pressure with no props, and she just had to sell everybody on this tennis program, she was really a great show. And one of the things that was really interesting was your budget, because one of the questions, I think, from the audience was, what was your budget? And for those of you who are unfamiliar with 100 plus women, what happens is the organization has so many members, and so whoever wins, each of the members gives that nonprofit $100. So they are up to 450 members, and we're on a mission to get to 500 by the end of the year. We started that goal in January, and we only had 390 some at the beginning of the year. So I think we're going to be well past 500.
Right.
But when you have 500 members, it's a gift of $50,000 to this nonprofit.
$1,000. Well, that's almost our whole budget for the whole year.
Right.
So it's just been like so exciting. I'm still not quite walking on the ground because all I can think of is these kids are going to get an opportunity that we haven't been able to do for them. I mean, the uniforms is one thing, but expanding our program, like hopefully getting a longer time with the kids and allowing them to take their lessons a little bit longer and a little more serious. That kind of stuff is just so exciting. And that was nerve-wracking doing that speech, by the way. But yeah. And so our budget is anywhere from 50 to 60,000. My treasurer told me we're getting close to 60,000, but so that's doubled our budget. So that allows us to just be present for those kids and give them opportunities that they wouldn't have had. So, yeah.
That is exciting. And then they have to become sustainable. So
Right.
listeners who are interested in tennis
Correct.
might want to help,
Right.
increase that fund for next year, because the 100 plus women is a one-time gift.
Right. And you know what, the 100 plus women is just an outstanding organization. And if you get a chance, go online and look at it, because I go, and even though up until this last time I never gotten picked or anything, TCTP hasn't gotten, I don't say me, but TCTP hasn't gotten picked. But you really learn about, speaking of kindness, the things people are doing in this community. You would be proud to call yourself a Tucsonan, because you hear about like impact and you hear about Ben's Bells, you know, books in the classroom. I mean, how cool is that?
And I always learn something.
Yeah.
I think I know
Yes.
so many nonprofits, but I always learn about
Right.
somebody new.
And you know what? The other thing in my talk that I think was astounding to people aren't aware that Tucson Unified School District, most elementaries have no PE, no physical education. And that was that people were like astounded.
That was a shock for me. And I had that on my notes because I couldn't believe they didn't have PE at all.
No,
I thought, okay, they don't have tennis for PE or they just don't have any PE.
no PE whatsoever. And so, you know, the classroom teachers are expected to teach PE. I say air quotes again. But so that's why our program to these teachers in these schools is so amazing. They love it. And it gives the kids organized physical education, which is so different than recess.
Oh,
so, and they love it. So, and again, now can we go to more schools? Yeah. So I'm just excited.
Very nice, very nice. And I know Ben's Bells has a lot of support from around the community too. I imagine your budget is a little more than 50,000, but we've been around a long time. Although so have you, Stacy. It is amazing to hear you've been around 30 years.
30
you said.
years.
Yeah, and there's so many kids to service, to take care of. So we'll have to do that as a community. And do you have any idea? I remember one year, I'm trying to think, Impact and Ben's Bells are members of the Alliance of Arizona Nonprofits, and they have Arizona Gives Day. And I remember the very beginning when Arizona Gives Day started, Jeanette and I were on this directors roundtable together, and it was hilarious because the Alliance is the one who sponsors Arizona Gives Day. And so they have all these community partners who come out and put up big prize money, and it's like those who get the most new members or those who get the most donations. And Ben's Bells was very clever, and they got a small number of donations from some hyperbole, like 3 million people. And that's what it felt like, when you're like, oh my gosh, and won the big money for the most, I think, new or the most givers. And that gives Arizona Gives Day. So I know you have so much support from a lot of people.
We do. Those were the good old days with the Arizona Gives. Now it's so hard to get those big prize monies because there's so many people who are so good at that. But, we do get a lot of support. But I will say this one thing, and that I don't think people know is people see us everywhere, and they see, which I love, that the logos everywhere. So they just assume that we have a lot of money. And I always tell them, I'm like, okay, so our budget's about $1 million, which seems like a lot, but I have 4 studios that I staff, all of them, and they have a shop and they have a studio. We do a lot with little money because
sure.
We have probably, depending on the time of the year, between 20 to 25 staff members. And so, it's a studio in Connecticut is going to be much more expensive than a studio here in Tucson, right? And
Probably true.
Same goes with Phoenix. But there's also there's a lot of opportunity in Phoenix for corporations and things like that. But we're still very, very homegrown. So we're always like, my development director, she hustles. She's like grant writing like crazy. And we just had our big event this past weekend, and all of that. We're the same as most nonprofits. We're just always like, okay, where are we going to look next?
Well, and I think it's a good point because even I had a manufacturing company with my husband before I moved here. So the cost of clay and the chain on the bells and the bells themselves on the wind chimes and the coins, all those things, and just the electricity
For the
to run the
kilns.
kiln.
That's
the
what I would
kilns,
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We just moved our Phoenix studio, and we had to get it rehooked up again, right? So
Sure.
the electric was, we had to get an electrician in because it had to have the special plug because it wasn't set up. Yeah, all of that stuff. So it's very much what people forget is running a nonprofit is you're running a business.
Exactly.
And so you got to remember that.
So we want all of our listeners in our community to remember that all these nonprofits that we have still need volunteers, they need donations. We've seen the donations from donors kind of decline or be smaller. We have as many givers, but they're not giving as much ever since that 8% jump in the economy when suddenly eggs were $10, which this morning we had all kinds of eggs in the food bank, and it was so exciting. So people were just thrilled to get a dozen eggs is like gold. And so I think it's a good thing to remember that we're all working, and it's not all about what's going out to the clients, but there is a lot of infrastructure behind all these organizations and tennis rackets and coaches, and it all adds up. So I appreciate both of you joining me today. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing what you do with the community.
Well, thank you for allowing us to share our passion, really, with you and the listeners. So thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's just great to get the spotlight on all these nonprofits.
That's right. And everybody can go home today or turn off their podcast and think of a way to be kind and get out and get some exercise. Maybe get your tennis racket out of the basement or the garage. Thanks again for joining us. Have a nice day.